Hello! I would be very pleased if you would like the video. Subscribe so you don't miss new videos every day that will help you relax. I'm also curious where you are listening to me from and what time it is now. Write it in the comments. Enjoy watching. The night settled softly over the plains of Mesopotamia. Far beyond the desert winds, the city of Babylon shimmered beneath the quiet stars. Golden walls glowed faintly in the moonlight, and the scent of myrrh and oil drifted through the warm air. A lone traveler walked the path toward the Ishtar Gate, his cloak gathering the dust of ancient roads. He had journeyed for months through valleys and rivers, guided only by stories. They said that in Babylon, beneath the night sky, one could hear the whispers of gods, if one listened long enough. The traveler's name was Naram, and his heart was filled with both wonder and fatigue. At the city's edge, the Euphrates glimmered like liquid bronze. Lanterns floated on its surface, drifting toward the great ziggurat that rose like a stairway to the heavens. The hum of distant prayers filled the air, mingled with the soft murmur of water. Naram paused and looked upward. The stars above Babylon seemed brighter than anywhere else he had been. Some said they were the eyes of Anu, the sky god, watching over the sleepless earth. He wondered if they could see him, a simple wanderer seeking meaning in a city of legends. As he entered through the great blue gates adorned with lions and dragons, a cool breeze met him. The guards nodded silently. Travelers were common, but dreamers were rare. Inside, the streets were alive with quiet music, harps, flutes, and murmurs of foreign tongues blending into a gentle rhythm. The traveler followed the soft melody through winding alleys until he reached a courtyard where torches burned with blue flame. In the center stood a priestess, her white robe shimmering like moonlight on water. She was speaking to a group of listeners seated on marble steps, her voice low and soothing. Naram sat among them quietly. The priestess told of a place called the Temple of Dreams, where mortals could glimpse the truths the gods once shared with kings. Her words drifted like incense, curling through the warm air. Only those who seek without desire may enter, she said, her eyes half closed. When she finished, she approached Naram as though she had known him all her life. You carry the dust of many roads, she whispered. You are not here by chance. She handed him a small clay seal marked with the image of a winged bull, the guardian of sacred gates. Go to the river at dawn, she told him. Follow the lanterns that drift upstream. They will lead you to the temple. But remember, not every dream shows truth. Some protect it by appearing as lies. Her words lingered like perfume as the torches flickered. That night, Naram could not sleep. The hum of the city faded as he sat by his window, gazing at the endless stars. He wondered what kind of dream might await him, one of wisdom or warning. In Babylon, the line between both was thin as a breath. At the first blush of dawn, the city still slept. Only the river moved, slow and golden beneath the rising sun. Naram walked along its banks, where countless lanterns floated upstream, defying the current as if drawn by invisible hands. Their lights shimmered softly, forming a path of fireflies upon the water. He followed them in silence. Each step carried him farther from the hum of the waking city and deeper into the whispering reeds. The air smelled of wet clay and jasmine. In the distance, the faint outline of a temple emerged, vast and silent, its pillars carved with wings and stars. As he approached, he noticed inscriptions glowing faintly upon the walls. They seemed alive, shifting like ripples across stone. Ancient Sumerian prayers, perhaps, or the murmurs of forgotten gods. The sound of water filled the air, as if the temple itself were breathing. At the gate, two massive statues guarded the entrance, bulls with human faces, serene and knowing. Their eyes glimmered faintly when Naram lifted the clay seal. A low hum rolled through the ground, and the stone doors began to open with a sigh older than time. Inside, the air was cool and heavy with incense. Pools of clear water reflected the ceiling, painted with constellations that shimmered like living stars. Every sound seemed distant, softened by centuries of devotion. It was as if Naram had stepped between the world of men and that of dreams. From the shadowed hall, a faint sound emerged, a voice, low and slow, like wind passing through stone corridors. Naram followed it deeper into the temple until he reached a chamber ringed with mirrors of polished bronze. In the center stood a tall figure draped in silver robes. The figure turned, revealing eyes pale as dawnlight. You carry the mark of the guardian, he said softly. Few who bear it still walk beneath the sun. His voice seemed to echo twice, once in the air, And once within Naram's chest, I am the keeper of echoes. I guard the dreams of those who came before. Naram bowed slightly. I was told the Temple of Dreams reveals truth, he said. The keeper smiled faintly. Truth is a mirror that must be seen in darkness, he replied. Look upon these walls, traveler. What you see reflected is not merely your face. It is your memory. The bronze mirrors flickered. In their shifting glow, Naram saw visions. Deserts he had crossed, faces of strangers, and a faint image of a city burning in the distance. His heart quickened. These are the paths your soul remembers, the keeper murmured. Each traveler who enters Babylon seeks what they have lost, though they may not know its name. The air trembled with silence. Then the keeper raised his hand and the reflections faded into stillness. Beyond this hall lies the chamber of the first dream, he said. Enter it only if you are willing to see yourself as the gods once did, unhidden. The great bronze doors opened with a whisper, revealing a vast circular chamber. The walls glowed faintly with starlight, as though the sky itself had descended into the room. At its center lay a shallow pool of silver water, perfectly still, reflecting the heavens above. Naram stepped closer, his footsteps echoing softly. The air seemed to hum around him, carrying voices too ancient to understand. He knelt beside the pool and gazed into it. At first, he saw only his own reflection. Weary eyes, windburned skin, the mark of long travel. Then the surface rippled, and the reflection changed. He saw Babylon in its glory. Towers crowned with gold, gardens hanging from terraces, and crowds beneath the shadow of mighty ziggurats. The sound of laughter, of markets, of prayer filled his ears like distant memories. A figure appeared beside him in the reflection. A woman in royal garments, her crown shaped like the crescent moon. Her eyes were calm, timeless. You have come far, she said, though her lips did not move. The gods remember those who seek without pride. Who are you? Naram whispered. The answer came not as words, but as a feeling, warmth, vast and gentle, like sunlight through water. He understood then that she was not a woman at all, but an echo of Ishtar, goddess of love and destiny. The pool shimmered brighter, and the chamber filled with stars. The chamber trembled softly as the light deepened into a gentle gold. Naram could feel the pulse of something greater than time itself, the breath of a goddess carried upon the still air. The reflection in the pool no longer showed his face but the endless expanse of the heavens. Then her voice came, quiet and tender, like silk drifting across water. You walk between shadow and dawn, said Ishtar. Few have the courage to listen to the silence that lives beneath their own name. The words seemed to echo through his chest, awakening memories he could not place. Naram closed his eyes. In that moment, he saw not cities or temples, but the endless desert, where stars stretched like roads of fire. He was a child again, tracing constellations with his finger, dreaming of lands where God still whispered to men. The voice returned, softer now. The dreams of Babylon are not gone. They sleep beneath the dust, waiting for hearts still awake. When he opened his eyes, the reflection in the pool had changed again. He saw a mighty tree rising from the heart of the city, its roots reaching deep into the earth, its branches touching the sky. Around it, people moved like streams of light. This, said Ishtar, is the memory of creation. All rivers return here. Naram felt warmth spread through him, dissolving fear and weariness alike. He realized then that he was no longer just a wanderer. He was part of the story Babylon had been telling for thousands of years. The tree in the reflection swayed gently, though no wind stirred the air. Its leaves shimmered like bronze, and each one bore a symbol, words from forgotten tongues, glowing softly in the twilight. Naram leaned closer, mesmerized by their movement. As he watched, the pool brightened until he felt as though he stood beneath that same tree, its vast trunk rising before him. The air was warm and filled with the scent of cedar and honey. Birds of light perched among the branches, singing melodies older than speech. A voice came again, though now it sounded nearer, like a heartbeat. Every leaf remembers, it said. Every root drinks from time. Naram placed his hand upon the bark. The surface felt alive, smooth and cool, pulsing faintly beneath his palm. Images flickered through his mind. The birth of rivers, the rise of kings, and the fall of cities swallowed by sand. He saw the Tower of Babylon gleaming beneath a sun that never set. He saw the first scribes etching stories into wet clay, their hands trembling with wonder. He saw lovers praying beneath the same stars he had followed across the desert. Then, from among the roots, water began to flow, clear and bright, spiraling around him like ribbons of memory. It carried whispers of laughter and tears, fragments of voices long gone. "You were part of this," said the voice. Every story returns to the source. The light around him dimmed until only the tree's glow remained. It stood silent, infinite, as if guarding the boundary between dream and dawn. The water around Naram deepened until it reached his knees. Yet it did not feel cold. Instead, it carried a gentle warmth, as if time itself were flowing past him in liquid form. The currents shimmered with faint images, faces, stars, and cities drifting by like dreams. He took a slow breath. Each ripple seemed to whisper his name, drawing him onward. As he waded deeper, he realized the river had no visible source or end. It simply existed, circling through the temple like a heartbeat that had never ceased. On the far side, he saw faint steps leading downward, carved from stone so old it glowed faintly in the dim light. He followed, his reflection dancing across the water's skin. The sound of the world above faded, replaced by a hum that felt both ancient and kind. At the bottom of the stairway, a cavern opened, vast and luminous, filled with floating spheres of light. They drifted like bubbles, each one holding a fragment of memory. A woman weaving silk beneath a full moon, a child carving words into clay, a king offering wine to the gods. Naram reached out to touch one. It pulsed softly, and he saw within it a younger version of himself, sitting beside a small fire, listening to his mother tell tales of Babylon's stars. He smiled faintly. "So even my own dreams have roots," he murmured. Then a voice rose from the river, deep and calm. "Nothing is ever lost," it said. "All things that flow shall return, even you." The lights shimmered in answer, and the river's current began to lift, wrapping Naram in a slow spiral of light. The spiral of light rose higher, carrying Naram upward through a column of shimmering air. Around him, the cavern dissolved into constellations, stars descending like gentle rain. Each one drifted slowly, as if guided by invisible threads, settling upon the river's surface and melting into silver ripples. He felt no fear, only stillness. Time itself seemed to pause. The air smelled faintly of cedar and fire, and the stars glowed with a patient rhythm, breathing in harmony with his heart. Naram realized he was not rising through the temple but through memory, the sky of all dreams that had ever been dreamt. Far above, he saw figures walking among the stars, not gods, but echoes of them. Scribes made of light, kings crowned with shadows, and wanderers carrying torches that never dimmed. They did not speak, yet their silence carried meaning deeper than words. As he drifted nearer, one of the figures turned toward him. Its face was both young and ancient, made of pure light. "You have seen what few recall," it said without sound. "But to hold the stars, one must learn to let them fall." A gentle warmth filled Naram's chest. He looked down and saw the city of Babylon glowing faintly below, its towers like candles in an endless sea of night. He felt himself descending, slower than thought, wrapped in the comfort of starlight. The figure's final words followed him like an echo. "The dream never ends. It only changes its dreamer." Naram slowly felt himself lowering toward the city, the river of light guiding him as though it had always known his path. The first rays of dawn brushed the walls of Babylon, softening the golden towers and making the hanging gardens glow like emerald flames. He stepped onto the riverbank, and the hum of the city returned. Merchants calling softly, animals stirring, the murmur of water over stone. Yet everything felt different. The city was awake not only in body but in memory, as though the dreams of 1,000 generations had risen with the sun. The ziggurat at the city's heart glimmered faintly, and Naram knew he had walked through realms few mortals ever glimpsed. Each step he took was measured, deliberate, infused with a new awareness of time and story, of gods and men intertwined. In the streets, people moved unaware of the miracles passing beside them. Naram smiled softly. He carried the quiet of the temple, the glow of the stars, and the whispers of the river beneath him. Babylon had awakened, but he had awakened too, to a city alive with history, myth, and memory. As he walked toward the bustling markets, he felt the clay seal warm against his chest, pulsing gently. It was no longer a token of passage, but a reminder. Every story, every dream, every whisper beneath the stars had a place, and he was part of it now. As the morning sun climbed higher, Naram wandered through a quieter district, guided by a soft intuition rather than maps. He arrived at a narrow alleyway, almost hidden between two clay buildings. At its end stood a small wooden door, worn with age, yet emanating a gentle glow. He pushed it open and stepped inside. The air was cool, filled with the scent of aged parchment and ink. Shelves rose from floor to ceiling, crammed with scrolls, tablets, and bound manuscripts. Each object hummed faintly, carrying the weight of countless stories whispered across centuries. A librarian, ancient yet timeless, emerged from the shadows. Her eyes glimmered like polished lapis, and she spoke with a voice soft as dust. "Few find this place," she said. "Fewer still understand what they hold. Every scroll contains a night, every tablet a dream." Naram approached a shelf marked with celestial symbols. He lifted a tablet, and images flickered across its surface. Stars forming, rivers bending, kings and gods meeting in silent councils. "These are the echoes of Babylon," she said, "the memory of what has passed and what has not yet come to be." He sank to the floor and began to read. Hours passed, though the sun barely moved, and outside, the city went about its waking life. Naram realized the library existed partly in another realm, a quiet space between reality and dream, holding knowledge that could soothe, guide, or unsettle any traveler who entered. From the farthest shelf, Naram pulled a scroll bound with silver thread. Its surface shimmered faintly, as though the ink had absorbed starlight. Carefully, he unrolled it, revealing rows of cuneiform symbols that seemed to shift under his gaze. As he read, visions arose before him, kings of Babylon long forgotten, their faces and deeds engraved into memory but lost to ordinary history. Some ruled with wisdom, others with cruelty, yet all bore the weight of time, their fates entwined with the city's pulse. One figure appeared taller than the rest, cloaked in golden robes. His eyes carried both pride and sorrow. Naram felt the king's voice resonate in his mind. To be remembered is to live again, yet to be forgotten is to teach humility. The stars record all things, but only the patient may read them. The library hummed in answer. Light danced along the walls as if the scroll itself breathed, illuminating other tablets and manuscripts. Naram realized he had become part of a living history, a witness to events and lives that had long faded from mortal memory. When he finally rolled the scroll closed, he felt a gentle weight in his hands, not the burden of knowledge, but the quiet responsibility of memory. Every story he glimpsed was a thread, and he now held a small portion of the tapestry that was Babylon. As night fell again, Naram returned to the riverbank. The city had quieted, yet the lanterns still drifted, glowing softly like fireflies suspended in air. Each light carried whispers from the library, fragments of the king's stories, and the gentle laughter of long-gone children. He followed the lanterns upstream, where the water reflected the stars perfectly, erasing the line between sky and river. It was as if the universe itself had settled in Babylon, folding past, present, and dream into a single, glowing thread. The glow of the city dimmed beneath the lantern's brilliance. Naram felt time stretch and fold around him, each step along the riverbank echoing centuries of human hope and fear. The night was eternal here, yet soft, soothing, and filled with the gentle weight of remembrance. From the river, faint melodies drifted, harps, flutes, and whispers of voices speaking in languages older than memory. He realized that each lantern represented a story waiting to be heard, a life that had touched the city and now shimmered among the stars. Naram sat at the river's edge, letting the lanterns drift past him, carrying their light downstream. In their warmth, he felt connected to every dream, every king, every whisper of Babylon. The city had become a living lullaby, and he understood that these nights, these tales, would linger forever in the quiet spaces between stars. Following the gentle glow of the lanterns, Naram wandered into a secluded courtyard. There, terraces of greenery hung suspended, each branch heavy with blossoms that shimmered like molten gold. The air smelled of honeyed blooms and ancient soil, carrying whispers of lives long past. From each flower, a memory floated outward, soft fragments of laughter, fleeting conversations, and quiet sighs of longing. Naram reached to touch one, and instantly he was filled with warmth. A mother singing to her child, lovers meeting beneath the moon, scribes recording the birth of words. The garden seemed to breathe with the rhythm of centuries. Every leaf, every petal, held a fragment of history, yet none weighed upon him. Instead, he felt a profound serenity, as if he were wandering within the collective heart of Babylon itself. A soft voice drifted through the garden, barely louder than the wind. "Memories are not lost," it said. "They hang here, waiting for those who will see them, and for those who will carry their light onward." Naram bowed, feeling the truth of the words settle gently in his chest. He wandered slowly among the terraces, letting the memories brush past him. Each step seemed to connect him deeper to the city, as if the gardens themselves were guiding him through a labyrinth of dreams, showing that time, though relentless, was also a keeper of gentle stories. Naram left the garden and entered a wide plaza lined with statues. Each figure was carved with exquisite care: gods, kings, scribes, and unknown faces frozen in stone. Moonlight draped the plaza in silver, and shadows stretched long and slow across the ground. As he walked among them, he noticed faint whispers rising from the stone. They were not words he could understand at first, but the tone carried stories, warnings, lullabies, tales of love, and the quiet dignity of lives once lived. Each statue seemed to hum with the memory of its own existence. One statue, larger than the rest, depicted a figure with wings spread wide, holding a small tablet. Naram paused before it. The whispers grew clearer, forming a melody of voices speaking across time. He felt as if the stone itself were breathing, alive with histories and dreams. He reached out and touched the cold marble. Images flickered before his eyes: a king offering tribute to a goddess, a child learning to write, a scribe mapping the stars. Each story carried a quiet lesson, a fragment of eternity captured in stone. The whispers softened as he moved on, blending with the gentle murmur of the city and the distant flow of the river. Naram realized that Babylon itself spoke in subtle ways, through memory, through legend, through the quiet presence of those who had come before. Beyond the plaza, Naram found a narrow bridge arching over a quiet canal. Its stones were worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, yet they seemed to hum with the weight of countless travelers. Above, stars reflected in the water, doubling the sky and blurring the line between river and heavens. He stepped onto the bridge, each footfall echoing softly as if the stones remembered every traveler who had crossed before. A gentle wind carried whispers of distant times: merchants bargaining, lovers laughing, priests chanting prayers long forgotten. Halfway across, the bridge seemed to stretch and fold, carrying Naram through visions of Babylon's past. He saw the construction of ziggurats, the planting of gardens, and the laughter of children running through the streets. Time flowed differently here, bending around memory and dream. At the bridge's center, a figure appeared, robed in starlight, neither old nor young. "Every step across this bridge connects moments," the figure said. "The past feeds the present, and the present preserves the past. All of Babylon exists in this delicate balance." Naram continued slowly, feeling the river beneath him whispering like a heartbeat. The bridge carried him not only over water but through the threads of history itself, showing him that the city was alive in every moment. And he, too, was now a part of its eternal story. At the end of the bridge of time, Naram discovered a narrow doorway tucked beneath a carved arch. Pushing it open, he entered a circular chamber filled with darkness, yet the walls shimmered faintly as though woven from starlight. The air was still, carrying a serene quiet unlike any sound he had known. Inside, countless stars hung suspended, each one a tiny globe of soft silver light. They pulsed gently, in no rush, as if breathing in unison with the temple itself. Naram felt a deep calm settle over him. Every worry and fatigue of his journey seemed to dissolve in the luminous silence. The keeper's voice returned, whispering from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Here, all voices find stillness," it said. "Here, the dreams of Babylon rest between night and dawn, untouched by haste or fear." The words seemed to pass directly into Naram's chest, leaving a quiet warmth. He moved through the chamber slowly, letting the lights brush past his fingertips. Each star contained a fragment of story, a mother's lullaby, a warrior's courage, a king's fleeting mercy, all held in delicate balance. The beauty of it made him smile, for he understood that silence could speak louder than any voice. Settling upon a smooth stone at the chamber's center, Naram closed his eyes. The stars shimmered above and around him, their light gentle as a lullaby. He felt at once both infinitesimal and eternal, cradled by the quiet heart of Babylon itself. Beyond the chamber, a doorway led Naram into a garden bathed in silver moonlight. Each tree was heavy with blossoms that shimmered like stars fallen from the sky, and soft petals drifted in the air like drifting lanterns. The scent of jasmine and myrrh wrapped around him, calm and soothing. The garden was silent, yet alive. Every leaf, every bloom seemed to hum with memory, the laughter of children, the whispers of lovers, the quiet murmurs of sages long gone. The light shimmered across pools of water that mirrored the heavens, so perfect that Naram felt as though he walked between two skies. He wandered along the winding paths, touching blossoms and watching tiny motes of light rise into the air. Each petal carried a story, a tale of hope, sorrow, courage, or gentle wonder. Naram realized that every memory, every dream, every small moment ever lived in Babylon had found its place here. In the center of the garden, a fountain spilled liquid light into a shallow basin. The water sang a quiet melody, soft and meditative, echoing the rhythms of countless nights. Naram sat beside it, letting the gentle song fill him, feeling his heartbeat align with the eternal cadence of the city. Here, he understood the truth whispered in every shadow and reflected in every star. Babylon was alive not only in its stones and rivers, but in its dreams. And in this garden, those dreams would flourish forever, cradling every traveler who came seeking solace beneath the eternal sky. From the far edge of the garden, faint shapes emerged, drifting on the silver light. They were birds, yet unlike any Naram had ever seen. Wings of glowing mist, feathers tipped with starlight. They moved gracefully through the air, tracing patterns that mirrored constellations above. As he watched, the birds began to circle, weaving intricate paths that seemed to tell stories without words. Each arc of their flight carried whispers of the city's past, the laughter of children, the hum of distant markets, the quiet prayers of the devoted. The air shimmered with their passage, alive with the pulse of memory. Naram stepped forward, letting their flight guide him. With each beat of their wings, he felt lifted, not physically, but in spirit. The weight of travel, fatigue, and longing melted, replaced by the serene understanding of being part of something vast and eternal. The birds gathered above a gentle pool, their reflections multiplying into endless patterns. Naram knelt by the water, tracing the shapes with his fingers. In their mirrored dance, he glimpsed a truth. All life, fleeting as it may seem, leaves traces that intertwine with the stars and the soil, the rivers and the stones of Babylon. When the celestial birds finally rose into the night sky, they carried the light of the garden with them, scattering it gently across the city. Naram remained beside the pool, feeling the calm hum of dreams all around him, cradled in the quiet wonder of Babylon's eternal night. Naram walked slowly back through the garden, feeling the soft glow of moonlight and starlight weaving together. Every petal, every ripple of the fountain seemed to whisper a gentle farewell, as if the city itself were singing him to sleep. The lanterns along the river floated higher, drifting toward the heavens. Their reflections shimmered in the water below, merging with the stars. Naram felt a quiet rhythm, like a heartbeat, connecting him to all that had lived and dreamed within Babylon. From the distance came the faint hum of voices, not spoken, but remembered. Mothers singing to children, scribes recounting tales, lovers whispering promises. Each note settled gently upon him, a lullaby carried across time. He paused at the edge of the city, gazing at the ziggurat rising like a stairway to eternity. The wind carried the scent of myrrh and cedar, and he understood that Babylon's stories would continue long after the night ended, whispered under every star. Naram closed his eyes, breathing in the stillness. The city, the river, the garden, the lanterns, all wrapped around him like a soft blanket of memory. And as sleep finally claimed him, he knew he had become part of the eternal song of Babylon, cradled beneath its timeless skies. Naram stepped through a narrow archway and found himself in a hall unlike any he had seen. The walls, ceiling, and floor were polished to a mirror-like sheen. reflecting not only his image but faint glimpses of events long past. Each step echoed softly, yet the sound seemed multiplied, a chorus of memory accompanying him. As he walked further, the reflections shifted. In one pane, he saw a bustling market from centuries ago. In another, a quiet courtyard where children played beneath the ziggurat. Some mirrors showed him walking beside kings and priests. Others revealed the quiet toil of scribes etching cuneiform into wet clay. A faint voice whispered from the mirrors, gentle and calm. "Every reflection holds a story," it said. "To see oneself is to see all who have walked before and will walk again." Naram paused, realizing that the hall was not merely showing images. It was revealing connections, threads of existence woven through time. He reached out to touch one of the mirrors, and the glass felt warm, alive. Images shimmered within it, a woman offering flowers to a statue, a scholar reading beneath a lamp, a soldier resting after a long march. Each scene pulsed softly, like the heartbeat of the city itself. As he moved through the hall, Naram felt a quiet serenity. The mirrors did not overwhelm, they invited reflection. Each story, each echo, reminded him that Babylon was more than stone and river. It was a living tapestry, and he, too, had become part of its eternal weave. Leaving the hall of mirrors, Naram followed a gentle path that led him to a quiet river. Its waters shimmered silver beneath the moonlight, reflecting the stars above as though the sky had poured itself into the city. Yet this river was different. It seemed to hum softly, carrying whispers along its current. As he approached, he realized the voices were names, countless names murmured by the flowing water. Each sounded like a soft breath, a memory of someone who had once lived, loved, or dreamed within Babylon. The river carried not only their names but the essence of their stories. Naram knelt by the water, dipping his fingers into the gentle current. Each ripple brought visions, a mother teaching a child to write, a scribe recording the deeds of kings, a merchant sharing bread with a stranger. The names were more than sound. They were threads connecting past and present. A gentle wind carried the whispers around him, wrapping him in a blanket of memory. The river seemed to say, "None are forgotten. Every life, every choice, every dream leaves a mark." Naram closed his eyes, listening, feeling the river's quiet affirmation. He rose slowly, understanding that the city itself preserved all who had passed through it. The river was a living testament, a guide for those willing to listen, and he felt humbled and comforted, a participant in the timeless story of Babylon. Following the river, Naram arrived at a wide plaza bathed in soft starlight. The air shimmered with gentle warmth, and the ground beneath him seemed to pulse in harmony with the stars above. At the center, a long table stretched endlessly, set with crystal bowls of light and silver platters that gleamed like liquid moon. Figures moved along the table, not only mortals, but beings draped in soft, glowing robes. They did not speak, yet their presence carried stories. Kings, priests, scribes, and wanderers, all sharing in a quiet communion. Each gesture, each movement, was a reflection of a life once lived. Naram approached, feeling neither hunger nor thirst, only a profound serenity. Every bowl held not food, but visions. A city at dawn, gardens swaying in wind, children learning under starlit skies. He reached out and touched a platter. Light spread through his fingers, and he felt memories of joy and quiet sorrow. The feast was unending, yet calm. There was no rush, no clamor, only the gentle cadence of stars and the pulse of the city. Naram understood that this banquet was not for the body but for the spirit, a celebration of life, memory, and dream. Sitting quietly among the figures, he felt connected to all who had gathered, past and present. Babylon sang softly through the stars, and he realized the feast would continue as long as there were hearts willing to witness, listen, and remember. From the plaza, Naram followed a narrow path lined with walls of polished stone. The passage twisted and turned like a living maze, the shadows shifting gently as if aware of his steps. He realized he had entered the labyrinth of forgotten dreams, where memories once lost could be found again. Each corridor held fragments of lives and tales long overlooked. In one, he glimpsed a child carving symbols into clay. In another, a poet murmuring verses under a flickering lamp. The dreams were quiet, delicate, yet they carried the weight of centuries. Naram moved slowly, touching the walls lightly. As he did, the passages seemed to pulse in recognition, opening briefly to reveal small chambers filled with soft light and whispering shadows. Each chamber invited him to pause and listen, to witness the life that had once flowed there. Though the labyrinth was vast, it never felt frightening. Instead, it was a gentle reminder that nothing truly disappears. Even forgotten dreams linger, waiting for hearts ready to see them, to carry them forward like a lantern through the night. By the time Naram reached the center, he understood the labyrinth's gift. It taught patience, reverence, and the quiet joy of discovering stories that had nearly been lost. Babylon had preserved them all, cradled beneath its eternal sky. At the heart of the labyrinth, Naram came upon a small clearing bathed in gentle moonlight. There, perched upon a silvered branch, sat a nightingale unlike any he had seen. Its feathers shimmered with starlight, and its eyes held the calm of endless nights. The bird opened its beak, and a soft melody filled the air, not loud or jarring, but gentle and continuous, like a lullaby for the soul. Each note seemed to weave together the myriad stories Naram had witnessed, the whispers of kings, the laughter of children, the songs of lovers and sages. He sat quietly, letting the melody wash over him. It carried memories from the labyrinth, the river, the garden, and the hall of mirrors, blending them into a seamless stream of light and sound. The song did not demand attention. It invited reflection, peace, and calm. The nightingale's song seemed eternal, yet every note was fleeting, a delicate brushstroke across the canvas of time. Naram understood that the bird was more than a creature. It was the essence of Babylon itself, singing its history, its dreams, its quiet truths into the night. As the melody lingered in the clearing, Naram felt a profound stillness. He was not only an observer but a participant, cradled within the endless song of the city, ready to continue his journey with the serene knowledge of eternity's gentle rhythm. Following the nightingale's song, Naram arrived at a towering structure that rose above Babylon like a stairway to the heavens. Its stones glowed faintly with inner light, warm and inviting, and the air around it hummed softly, as if the city itself had exhaled in welcome. He began to ascend, each step steady and deliberate. The higher he climbed, the more expansive the view became. The river gleamed like silver threads, the gardens shimmered beneath starlight, and the ziggurats stood serene in the distance. Every detail of the city was bathed in quiet illumination. Inside the tower, walls of crystal reflected both past and future. Naram saw moments of joy, struggle, and hope from generations of Babylonians. The light pulsed gently with each memory, weaving them into a tapestry that embraced him in its calm, meditative rhythm. At the top, he paused, gazing out over the city. The stars above mirrored the glow of lanterns below, and Naram realized that Babylon existed simultaneously in every moment, a living archive of dreams and stories. He felt neither fatigue nor fear, only a profound serenity, as if he were cradled by time itself. The tower's gentle luminescence wrapped him in understanding. Life, memory, and dream were all threads of the same fabric. As he looked across the endless cityscape, Naram knew he had become part of Babylon's eternal light, a quiet witness to its enduring heart. As the first pale rays of dawn touched the city, Naram descended the tower of endless light. The soft glow of morning mingled with the fading starlight, painting Babylon in delicate hues of gold and silver. Every stone, river, and garden seemed to hum with the quiet promise of a new day. He walked through the streets, now awakening with gentle life. Merchants arranged their goods, children chased one another, and birds sang softly in the early light. Yet the city retained the memory of night, the calm, the lanterns, the whispered dreams, all lingering like a soft melody beneath the bustle. At the foot of the ziggurat, Naram paused. The clay seal against his chest pulsed warmly, a reminder of the journey he had taken through halls, gardens, rivers, and stars. He felt a deep sense of belonging, as if he were both a part of the city and a witness to its timeless stories. The wind carried scents of cedar, myrrh, and jasmine, wrapping him in the serene comfort of Babylon itself. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly, letting the gentle rhythm of the city settle his mind and heart. In this moment, the night had not truly ended, it had simply transformed, leaving peace and memory in its place. And as Naram continued onward, the city seemed to whisper around him, every dream, Every story, every soul in Babylon would continue, cradled beneath the eternal sky, waiting for those who would walk its streets and listen to its quiet, enduring song.